Okay, so the next game I want to talk about is actually one of my favorite projects. Definitely my favorite project that I worked on with Devon. And this is Zombie Revenge Party. So this was for the Ludum Dare 32. The theme was Unconventional Weapon. And what we did differently for this one is obviously we didn't think of any ideas beforehand. We were ready to go into it open-minded, ready to create anything. And we also had a goal which was to keep our scale very small. We started to realize that every time we did a jam, our goals were way too high. You know, creating multiplayer in Intersolar Super Spaceway was never going to happen. We were just not good enough, or I was not a good enough developer to do that kind of stuff. So for this jam, our objective was to keep the game small and just focus on the core features. So when the theme came, Unconventional Weapon, I had the idea of doing a zombie game in which you just pick up every object you can find to kill the zombies. And he liked the idea and he wanted to make it really cartoony and fun. So we came up with all kinds of dumb weapon ideas. And actually, if I go into the game documentation, we have a weapon ideas text file. So stuff like box of tacks, blankie, CDs, trash can, various fruits and veggies, hot coffee, a long fluorescent light, broom, cardboard box. So we basically had all these ideas for weapons we could throw into the game really easily. And then we also had this little game mechanics that we really, really wanted to get in the game. So first of all, it was important to us that the game had tight controls because we wanted to sort of make it a small platformer survival game against an endless wave of zombies. So we wanted to make sure it was easy to avoid obstacles. There was no momentum in the game so that you could easily change direction and get where you're trying to go. And variable jumps, so the longer you hold down W, the higher you go. This is crossed out because I was an idiot and didn't know how to do it at the time. There was also health. We wanted to make sure that health was a rare resource in the game. So we actually had it so that you have 3 hearts and every hit you take damage. So 3 health hits. But there was never any health drops that we put into the game, so it ended up being really difficult. Then we also had a kick mechanic, which sadly goes very underused and is not great. But the idea is that it pushes enemies back and slowly recharges. So it's one of 3 resources in the game: your health, your kick, and then your weapons. So then when it came to the gameplay, it was supposed to be a difficult progression, but the player adapts to the environment and it's kept proportional. I don't know what that means, but that's what we wrote. So now let's actually get into the game, because this is an interesting game that I'm super excited to play again. Okay, so at this point, my god, that is loud. I'm going to turn that down, actually. Okay, so at this point, I had been learning to make music a little bit better, specifically chiptunes. In this game, I downloaded a chiptune drum set and was like experimenting with making chiptunes. They're not good, and actually they're sort of ripped off of stuff. So this menu music is actually a complete ripoff of the theme song of Demon Star, which is an old DOS game. So if you look up Demon Star theme song, you'll hear this song, but basically 100 times better. So on this main menu, we have a couple of character controls. You can see that the character is a bunny. That happened by complete accident and was just funny. So we liked it. We got a double jump, nice little tight controls. There's no platformer glitching, which there was a lot of in the previous game, so you can see that I'd gotten better at making platformers. Not good, but we also have animations in which the character can look both ways while moving and walking around and jumping and all that kind of stuff. We have effects for double jumping, kicking. The UI is really clean. Well, it's not on the main menu because there's so much garbage text around, but the UI in-game is pretty clean for the most part. And on the main menu, at the last second, we decided we should probably teach the player how to play, so we have these sort of rushed-in controls. And one of the fun features of the main menu is the ability to pick up items and test them out. So, for example, in orange, you can see that it fills up your uses, and then you get 3 uses of any given weapon. These ones, you can't actually use them because it'll only take away a use when you hit a zombie with it. But all melee weapons function the same with all the throwing weapons. This is basically a coffee pot that fires out hot coffee, which is just like projectiles. Projectiles you just throw. So let's actually get into the game. So once you get into the game, it spawns zombies randomly on either side, as well as spawning weapons and things around. So this is glue. This was actually, I think, the last item I added. But basically it just fires down a little thing of glue that if they touch, they get stuck on for a while. Kind of hilarious. This mug is great. I love throwing this mug. It's just a little heart mug. Got a giant wooden spoon. Oh, and also, a fun feature in this game is that we wanted to make the title fit, because we came up with the title earlier, I think. And we were like, how can we make this more of a party? And they're just like, oh, let's just give the zombies hats. That'll work. There's the coffee pot. My god, this chiptune solo is insane. What was I thinking? So this is actually the best weapon in the game. It's the toaster. It'll actually pop the toast out and fire it, and so that's pretty great. Ooh. So there's taking some damage. Here's an example of kicking. It basically just pushes the zombies away from you and then slowly recharges back up. But it's really not that useful. And is pretty tough to do in any situation that requires it. Like you need to save up all of them if it's ever going to be useful. Oh my god. Yeah, I didn't really know how to do music mixing, so all of the layers are just playing at the exact same time at the same volume and clashing horribly. So that ending song is probably the only original song that I wrote for this game. If I actually go to the music here and play Jam... Oh, that's not the one. If I play Jam 2... This song is actually, the melody is stolen from a song in the Age of Empires 2 soundtrack that goes... I'll just look it up and play it instead of singing it, because that was horrible. So let's actually dig into this game. This was one of my favorite things that I worked on for a really long time. It was a fairly complete game, and it was a lot of fun to make. So obviously the sprites are really well done. Devon's an incredible artist, and it was really fun to work with him. So we have like this backpedaling animation and all that stuff. The kick is just some nice little smoke effects. They look really good in game. Same with the jump poof. Then we got the zombies. The zombies don't come with hats by default. The hats are actually like separate objects that I stuck on top of them and bobbed up and down, and actually was quite a pain. There's a good variety of hats though. Things like the party hat, the Dr. Seuss hat, the sombrero, and so on. We got your UI elements, like the health bar and everything else like that. These are all the so-called power-ups, which are actually just all the weapons in game. We didn't quite get all of the ones in the text document, but we did get a good amount of them. And then power aura, I guess, is... Oh yeah, this is what comes around the objects when they're being shown in game, so that you know you can pick them up. And then this is the actual weapons once they're in game, because I guess I had to use different sprites for that. I wonder why. Yep. Oh, it's actually not for that reason. So I thought it was because I had to rotate them around frame by frame, like I was doing in the previous games, but it isn't that, because these ones don't. Also, this is a hilarious Guitar Hero controller. So, I literally have every sprite imported like 3 times. So these are the power-ups that you can pick up in game. These are the weapons when you actually use them. And then these are the icons that show up at the top to show you what weapon you have equipped right now. I think that's pretty funny that I literally imported everything like 3 times. And then there's just these walls that are in-game to show you what you can stand on. And then the background looks like this. And we have a couple of other background poles and things that I used to assemble the background level. Like this. And so let's actually get into the scripts and stuff. I want to see how this game worked. I know for a fact the zombie AI is really strange, and I'm excited to take a poke into that. Okay, so one thing I remember specifically about the zombie AI is that they don't actually know how to jump. They just come across a jump object on the ground and then jump if the player is above them. So this object floor jump, this right here, the zombies will just check below them if they're standing on that, and if the player's above them, then they'll jump. So like right here, if collision, oh wait, actually that's just to stop them from falling through the floor. So let's see, zombie jump. So it goes, if the player object is 32 pixels above me and below me, wait, what in the heck? Oh, this is just the jump function. It doesn't actually check. So it must check in like the step event. Yeah. So if below them is a jump platform, then it'll run the zombie jump function. But yeah, the step event's pretty weird. It has stuck checks. It's got dead checks. It's pretty bizarre, honestly. So the zombie has a couple of states. It's got wander, which I don't actually know if it uses. Does it use wander? Sprite wander? No, it never uses wander, so I don't know why it has this. But basically, this is just go randomly left or right, similar to the AI in the previous game. Then it also has zombie attack, in which it is chasing the player constantly. Oh, let's see. So if it can't get a direct line towards the player, a line of sight, then it'll just wander around. So it does actually end up using that. So that's good. But other than that, it'll try to chase the player if it can see it. And then the zombies will draw their hat. Oh, execute string. Wow, that's not something I expected. So I actually used to use execute string quite a lot in Game Maker 8, because that was a thing you could do back then. So in this case, it basically, what is hat here? Hat must be something that's created in the zombies creation, right? Hat, yep. So when a zombie gets created, it gets a random hat between 1 and 10, I believe. And then because I wanted to make it automatically choose the correct hat, I named them like this, and then just ran a draw sprite that used the hat variable instead of just manually writing out a switch statement or something like that. So then it draws it at the correct position, which is, of course, a magic number. Everything here, couple magic numbers. Literally, I was checking where is the head at any given frame, and where can I put the hat at that frame, because the zombie's head moves up and down as he's walking. So I literally physically moved the hat up and down by certain pixels on different frames. Not very smart. So that's basically all of the important stuff in this game. The rest of it was pretty simple. I was a little bit more familiar with Game Maker at the time and was learning, becoming a lot more solid at what I was doing. But one thing that I remember asking for advice from a friend of mine on what I could do differently, and specifically the thing that he mentioned to me was the way that I implemented weapons in this game. So this game has 20 weapons, which is a pretty good amount, but most of them are very similar classes. So like all the melee weapons function the same, all the ranged weapons function the same, all the drop weapons like thumbtacks and banana peels work the same. So that wasn't too hard to implement. But the way I did it was, if I go to my player here, my player scripts, and I go to player attack. So this is how I determined what weapon the player was using. So as long as it's got a weapon in hand, it's going to check which one it is. So if weapon is 1, if weapon is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15, or 16. So these are all the melee weapons. 9, 10, 11, 17. It's got projectile weapons. Then it's got the toaster, the gun, the coffee pot, all these unique weapons. What I should have done instead of this is use an enum, and of course a switch statement. Either of those or both of those in combination is a much better way to handle this amount of weapons being used by the player. But yeah, that's about it. It was a fun game to make. I had a lot of good times playing it afterwards and seeing people's responses to playing it. It was a very difficult game, so a lot of people had a lot of trouble. But it was definitely my favorite thing that I worked on for a long time.